Hi, this is Katie, and thank you for joining me on the My Senses, My Space podcast. And today I wanted to talk about the sense of urgency. And this can feel overwhelming a lot of times, or it can make you feel anxious, or it can just feel like you dread things, or that there's just too much on your plate. This can take many different forms. And I think a lot of this comes from the pressure of society, the pressure of social media and comparison, the pressure of our expectations of ourselves sometimes. It doesn't have to be 100%, but sometimes we just learn that the world expects a lot of us, and so we push ourselves really hard. Sometimes these expectations come from family and friends, and it can be really hard to say no to people and to slow down and to go at things at your own pace. And that's one of the first steps, is kind of slowing down, because I notice when I'm overwhelmed, it can usually mean that there's just a lot of different things that I'm trying to wrap my head around, to understand, to take action on. And when I feel like they're all due at once, and they're all due, and they all need to be done, that I am trying to race through them, and I don't make the best decisions. And so slowing down and also taking care of little things as they come up. And questioning, why am I feeling resistance to things? Because it is really hard. And I recently did an episode on, mental processing and getting unstuck, the last couple weeks here. And it can be really hard to take the next step. But sometimes we can slow down, and we can pause, and we can ask ourselves, why couldn't it be done right this minute without urgency? I know that can be kind of contradictory, right? It's like, why can't it just be done this second? Well, that's urgency, right? But if it's something really, really small, like putting something away, like I have a pen out on the desk, why couldn't I just put it away right now? And that's more coming from curiosity instead of urgency. So it takes some practice, but it is getting curious about how our feelings are coming up about certain things. Now, having a pen out on the desk can be very different than a family member insisting that they need something right away, right? Those are two very, very different things. And especially if you have a lot of emotions wrapped up around the relationship with that family member. So taking a little step for them and taking a little step for you can feel very, very different. But you are still worthy in both of those situations. And I laugh a little bit because that's another part of looking at things, is you are not more moral. There isn't morality to be wrapped up into getting your to-do list done. There isn't that you are a better person because you are more productive that day. Now, I know at a job, they are expecting you to get as much done as possible, right? But they all are also hopefully wanting you to do your best job as well. And I think talking about jobs and stuff might be a whole nother podcast. But today I wanted to talk more about urgency itself and how it feels. So setting up boundaries around okay. And it's kind of like compartmentalizing. It's saying, okay, if this category of thing, could I do it right in that moment? Could I take this mail and go through it and recycle the things right away? Could I put this away right now? Could I empty the dishwasher? Could I do these things? And I'm talking about those types of things as in you have the capacity to do them. because I'm not talking about going in depth in this episode about chronic illness and how that can feel like too much a lot of the time. Like you can look at all these little things and feel like it's too much. The same with depression, the same with many, many other things that can just be too much for your body. I'm not saying push through those and just get little things done. I'm talking about looking at your capacity at those moments and saying, that's all you can do. Is you can't tend to those things today. That is not for you today. You do not have the energy or capacity to do that. That's okay. And that's part of getting curious, right? You're getting curious and going, can I put that pen away today? Can I empty the dishwasher today? And if no is the answer, then that's a boundary that you're setting. And that's part of this as well, is forming those really good boundaries around, hey, I can or I can't do that, with or without stressing myself out more and causing more anxiety. And the reason I'm talking about these little things is because the more and more and more that those stack up, the more anxious you're going to feel. And so trying to balance, like I've done an episode recently about balance, and balance means not a tightrope, but that you're trying to stack a bunch of things onto a pile. What I talked about was a pile of rocks. You can't forever stack rocks on top of one another without them falling. Like maybe architecturally, there's a magical way. But in all honesty, if they're a bunch of round rocks, they're going to slip to the side because you're only able to do so much. And so looking at your capacity and going, okay, this is what I can handle, and I can set these other things to the side. And some of those things to the side can be not emptying the dishwasher, having someone else do it if you are living with someone else, asking for help, balancing the workload in the entire house, because we need to find balance through our partners and other members of the household so that you aren't the only one doing things. And so kind of having these boundaries around like, here, I am capable of doing this for myself now so I don't feel anxious later. But if I do 10 things right now, I'm going to be exhausted and that's not going to work for me. You could do 1 an hour. You could do 2 a day. You could do whatever. But if you're making steady progress and things are slowly, getting better so that when you look around, you're not looking around and seeing all the deficits. And that's also, you can also combine that with looking at your space differently too, because there can be a lot of comparison to other people on Instagram and everything and going, my house doesn't look like theirs. My house looks completely different than anything I've ever seen on Instagram. And it's hard for me to share that because it doesn't look Instagram worthy. And I have to talk to myself. I have to say, like, it's not going to. But that's what makes it different. And people need to see different. They need to see that I don't have to push myself and I don't have to buy all the things and I don't have to have it just like somebody else's and I don't have to have it spotless and I don't have to organize it a certain way. I do it for how it feels good to me. And so I don't feel that urgency as much. And I can back off and say, but this feels comfortable for me. And that's why I'm talking about surroundings. And another key ingredient in all of this can swirl around expectations. So if someone else is involved in plans and they're kind of setting some deadlines or something that's coming up, that their expectations are that it's done a certain way. But if they're communicating it in an unclear way, it's another time to get curious and ask about what their expectations are. Because I think that's a lot of what we can feel really anxious about, that there's this urgency that things are done a certain way. And when we get curious and say, hey, I know you want this done. What were you thinking? And could we kind of work together so that it fits my capacity as well? Can we make this a mutually beneficial thing that's happening so that I don't get burned out and you get what you were wanting accomplished, but in my way too. And opening up that dialogue, usually when we're just assuming, or if we're thinking that it's way bigger, then it can feel really anxious or like urgent that we do this huge thing. And maybe that's not the case. Maybe it's really getting clear and like visualizing what does it look like when that's done. That can really ease the urgency of the whole thing. It's like, well, maybe just having a conversation cuts the workload in half or a third or, like a big amount. And so then you're really clear and going, oh, well, I have more time and I can slow down and I can do this in a really fun way. You can enjoy your time more. Or knowing that you don't have to go out and spend a whole ton on it or anything like that. Just getting really clear on those expectations. So think about where the urgencies are coming from. Like that's the biggest part, is questioning like, why am I feeling urgency from something? Is it from society? Is it from like, as a woman, I always felt this sense of urgency to get married, buy the house, buy the car, and have kids. And I really look back at all those and that urgency I felt, and I'm like, that wasn't really coming a lot from me. That was coming from external expectations of me. But I always was pushing to the next thing. And I've been able to slow down and back away from those expectations. And it can be hard. And it can be rewriting what we think that is. But then I look at my own expectations. And usually those are a lot calmer and a lot bigger in a foundational way. Not like I'm expecting huge things from myself. I'm expecting a whole lot less because as I grow older, I'm in my 40s, I'm settled and I can look at things differently and say, this is enough for me. I don't need all those other things. That what I have is enough and I don't need to push myself as hard. And I can look at other expectations and say, that is not for me. That's not for me. And that's okay. So I love working with clients around this. I think it's really fascinating to see what your own values are to lessen the urgency that you're feeling elsewhere. My contact info is in the description if you're interested. And until next time, everyone, thank you for joining me on the My Senses, My Space podcast.